Okay everyone, we're gonna make a ceramic mug. What you need to start with is your placemat. This is like a little canvas fabric piece that protects your table from the clay sticking to it. You're gonna need a piece of clay, probably about the size of your fist. And then we are going to need 2 of the rulers and 1 rolling pin. These will be in the bin that says slab rollers. You're gonna place your rulers about 6 inches apart. And then you're going to take your clay piece, and what I like to do is I'm just gonna pinch it with my hands like this to get it into kind of like a flat pancake. Not super thin, but just more thin than a ball. You're gonna place it in between your rulers, and you're gonna take your rolling pin. Now this is what we call slab rolling. We're going to place the roller onto the rulers, and we're gonna roll until this is the thickness of our ruler. Now I like to kind of start in the middle and just press down and go back and forth. You're gonna have to press pretty hard, and you're gonna keep rolling this. It's gonna get long and skinny. Now how you'll know that you're done rolling it is if you can't roll anymore and it's not getting any more thin. Like if you are rolling and it's just not getting any more thin and your rolling pin just keeps rolling without flattening out the clay anymore, that's how you know you're done. You probably want to roll this out about 10 times just to make sure. So if my rolling pin is rolling freely and it's not getting stuck on the clay, then I'm done. And you'll see we do this because we want this to be the same thickness all the way around. It's the same thickness as the ruler. Now once this is rolled out, you're going to take this tracer. It says mug. You are going to place this onto your clay and you're going to cut out the same shape as the mug. Now, notice how my clay is a little bit too small. There's some pieces that are hanging off the edge here. That is okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a mug that's a little tiny bit smaller. Now, if your clay is way smaller than this, you need to get a bigger ball and roll it out again. If it fits pretty well, then you should be okay. All right, so I'm gonna take this now and I'm going to take a little wooden stick and I'm just gonna trace around as best as I can each of the edges. Now see, my corners are kind of sticking off a little bit. I am just going to actually move this line a little bit in, and that should be fine. So my mug will just be a little bit skinnier. Now I'm going to take one of the clay tools that looks like this. It has a flat edge. This is going to be something that I can use to cut the clay with. So I'm just going to carefully cut on the lines and put my scraps to the side. I'm going to use my scraps later, so save them. Okay, I'm going to put my scraps aside into a ball. I'm going to save those. Now, on my slab, what I'm gonna do before I turn it into the mug is I'm gonna make some texture. There's some tools that you can use to make texture. Stamps or these little rolling pins with textures on them. Find one that you think you like and you're gonna make some texture onto your slab. I like this one with the swirly lines, so I'm gonna press this into my mug. I'm pressing hard enough so I can see a texture on my mug, but not too hard that I'm flattening my clay out completely. I like that, and maybe I'll try a different one in the middle. I think I kind of like this polka dot one. So you can use the rolling pins, or if you can think of a different way to make texture, go for it. It's up to you. You could even use your clay tools to draw textures into there if you want. Okay, so now I'm going to carefully take my mug up. I'm going to put all these tools away. And in the same bin that you found these tracers in, you'll find some water bottles. The water bottles are helpful to lay your clay around so that you have kind of like a stable, something stable to hold your clay up while you're molding it. Now, mine doesn't quite fit all the way around because I had to make it a little bit smaller, so I'm actually going to take the bottle out. I'm not going to use the bottle. But if yours was the size of this, it should be the same as the bottle, so you can use that to help hold up your clay. Now, we need to join these two edges together, and how we do that is the 4 S's: score, slip, stick, and smooth. Grab a little container of clay slip. This is almost like glue. How we use it is we have to score the edges that we want to attach first. So that would be this edge and this edge. I'm going to take my little wooden stick and I'm basically going to make some scratches into the clay. The more scratches the better, but gently scratching. Then I'm going to take my finger and dip it in the slip, and I'm going to put the slip on just one of the edges. You don't need to put it on both edges. Then I'm going to carefully join these two sides together. It helps if you stand it up and you're just going to press carefully the edges together. So you'll see as I'm pressing these edges together, my clay is starting to stick and that slip is kind of acting like glue. But after I stick it, the last S is called smooth. So I'm going to take a clay tool that has a flat edge, and I am just going to carefully join the clay together. You might notice that your texture is getting kind of ruined in that spot. That's okay. This is where we're going to attach the handle of the mug anyway. So don't worry if you're kind of ruining the texture right there. So I'm smoothing the clay into the other clay so that it is now joined and it's one piece of clay. You're going to also want to join the inside crack. There's a crack there, and you want to carefully, as best as you can, join that clay together to get rid of that crack. So score, slip, stick, and smooth. Smooth is the most important part. You're joining the clay and smoothing it so it's now one piece of clay. All right, this looks pretty good. 2 more steps. I gotta make the bottom and the handle. So now for the bottom, I'm going to set this piece of clay to the side. For the bottom, I need to roll this out again into a slab. So get my slab rollers, get my scraps into a nice pancake shape, and start rolling it out. It doesn't need to be very big because you're just going to trace your mug. Now, place the bottom of the mug down, and you're going to take your wooden stick, and you're just going to trace the bottom of your mug. You don't need to cut it out yet, just trace it. Now you can use your clay tool with the flat edge to cut it out. As best as you can on the line you're going to be cutting, pressing this into the clay. Okay, put my scraps aside. I'm going to use these for the handle later, so I still need these. All right, now I want to join these 2 pieces of clay together as well. I have to score, slip, stick, and smooth. So I'm going to score the edge like this. Basically, I'm just putting little X's on the edge. Get some slip in there. So I'm dipping my finger in the slip, putting a little bit into the cracks, almost like glue. I also need to score the bottom of my mug. I don't need to put slip there though. All right, stick that down, kind of just nudge it in there, and then you'll see it sticking pretty well. I'm gonna flip it over, take my clay tool, and again, I need to smooth as best as I can, just on the edge where the crack was. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, I'm almost done. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the last of my scraps and I'm going to roll it out into one more slab. If you don't have enough, you can always ask Miss Buhner for more. Ooh. Okay, now I'm going to draw a long rectangle as long as I can get it, and I'm going to cut that out. This is going to be my handle. Now my handle is gonna go like this. From here, and it's gonna twist to here. Okay, you might notice that my clay is cracking a bit. Put a little bit of water on it, because as your clay sits out, it's gonna dry out a bit. We want this to be a bit more watery so it can bend. Okay, so I'm gonna score the place that I wanna stick the handle first. Put a little bit of slip. Score the edge of the handle and stick it on. I'm gonna try my best to get that in there and smooth it into my mug. This is gonna be probably the hardest step. Use your tools to help you smooth your clay into your other clay on all 4 sides. Okay, now this is going to bend and fit right about here, so I'm gonna score that spot. Score my handle, put a little bit of slip, stick, and smooth. Now this is where the water bottle might help. If your water bottle was big enough, you could stick it in here while you're doing these steps so that it doesn't kind of flop over on you and fall apart. Okay, my clay mug is pretty much finished. I noticed that I've got some imperfections in some spots here. That's where I can take some water and just smooth it out and get everything nice and looking finished. Even the lid here, the top where you drink from, that's where you want it to be the smoothest, because you probably don't want to drink from a rough edge of a cup. So I like to smooth that out a lot. Okay, my cup is pretty much done. I can keep adding some smoothing areas to kind of perfect it, but it looks pretty good. I'm gonna take my wooden stick and I'm gonna carve my initials carefully on the bottom and put it on the clay cart ready to go to the kiln. Great job, everyone.